Good day, wonderful spirits. Today, I need to discuss a message that has the ability to change our lives and carry us nearer to the heavenly. It's a message of trust, love, and acknowledgement directly from the core of God. Thus, take a load off, open your hearts, and we should jump into this extraordinary truth. My companions, God doesn't call the certified, He qualifies those He calls. Isn't unreasonably astonishing? It implies that you don't need to be awesome or have everything sorted out to complete God's main goal for your life. As a matter of fact, we are profoundly imperfect people who miss the mark concerning God's greatness. In any case, learn to expect the unexpected. In any case, God loves us. In any case, He calls us. Romans 3:23. For all have trespassed and missed the mark regarding the greatness of God. Type 1111 if you needed this. It's so natural to thump ourselves for not being awesome, right? We contrast ourselves with others, feeling lacking and dishonorable of God's affection. In any case, here's reality. Just Jesus was awesome. Most of us are delightfully flawed works underway. Also, that is completely fine. Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all you who are tired and troubled, and I will give you rest. Amidst our blemishes, Jesus stretches out a solicitation to every single one of us, according to He, come to me, all you who are exhausted and troubled, and I will give you rest. What an encouraging commitment. Jesus grasps our battles, our questions, and our feelings of trepidation. He offers us His genuine love and elegance. Human experience is much more than trusting that the tempest will pass, yet figuring out how to move in the downpour. Human existence has meaning that transcends trusting that the tempest will pass. My companions, it's tied in with figuring out how to move in the downpour. Amidst our flaws, we can in any case track down happiness, reason, and satisfaction. God's affection for us did not depend on our presentation or accomplishments. It depends on His constant nature and His craving to see us flourish. All in all, what is God's directive for you today? It's a message of trust. A message says you are cherished, esteemed, and called to an auction that could be more significant than yourself. A message welcomes you to embrace your defects and let God's effortlessness change your life. Be that as it may, how would we experience this message in our regular routines? Indeed, it begins with confidence, confidence in God's commitments, confidence in His affection for us, and confidence in His capacity to deal with our shortcomings. At the point when we give our lives over to Him, He furnishes us with all that we really want to satisfy His motivation. Philippians 4:13. I can do everything through Christ who fortifies me. You are in good company in your excursion. God is with you constantly. Furthermore, with Him close by, you can do all things. Indeed, even the apparently unthinkable becomes conceivable when you confide in His power managing you. In this way, my dear companions, don't allow your blemishes to keep you down. Embrace them as any open doors for development and change. Continue pushing forward. Continue looking for God's direction, and continue to focus your light in this world. Keep in mind, God doesn't call the certified. He qualifies those He calls. You are picked, cherished, and called to have an effect. In this way, go out there and let your blemished, wonderful self sparkle brilliantly so anyone might be able to see. Embrace your flaws and let God's effortlessness change you. The amazing presence of God in our lives. Some of the time, we might believe that God is just tracked down in our favors, address supplications, and marvels, yet, actually, He is far beyond that. God is in the pausing. He's at the times of quietness and are looking for, asking, and giving up. Also, above all, He's with us through every one of the tough situations. Along these lines, we should make a plunge squarely into this strong message. You know, holding up can be intense, whether it's hanging tight for a forward leap, an open position, or recuperating. It can feel like an unending length of time. In any case, here's the wonderful truth. God is not too far off with you in the pausing. In those snapshots of quietness, when it appears as though nothing is occurring, He is working in the background. Recollect Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you," announces the Master, plans to succeed you and not to hurt you, plans to give you trust and a future, confidence in His amazing luck. Have you at any point felt lost or confounded? We as a whole have sooner or later. Be that as it may. Here's the uplifting news. God is in your looking for. At the point when you genuinely look for Him with everything that is in you, you will track down Him. Matthew 7:7 reminds us, "Ask and it will be given to you. Look for and you will find." And the entryway will be open to you. So make it a point to ask God for direction and give your concerns over to Him. He won't ever leave you hanging. Life can toss some curves our direction. Difficulties, heartbreaks, and agony. Be that as it may, even amidst those difficult situations, God is not too far off close to you. Hymn 34:18 guarantees us, "The ruler is near the greed and saves the people who are squashed in soul." He sees your battles and He won't ever neglect you. Keep in mind, it's not unexpected through the hardest minutes that we become the most profoundly. At last, I need to help you to remember this unimaginable truth. God's affection won't ever bomb you, regardless of how frequently you might feel contemptible or far off from Him. His affection stays consistent. Romans 8:38-39 says, "For I'm persuaded that neither demise nor life, neither heavenly messengers nor evil presences, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither level nor profundity, nor whatever else in all creation, will actually want to isolate us from the adoration for God that is in Christ Jesus our ruler." Let that hit home. Nothing can isolate you from His affection. So that's it, companions, a strong message about the unbelievable presence of God in our lives. He's tracked down in our favors and marvels, as well as in our pausing, looking for, and giving up. And, surprisingly, in the hardest of times, His affection stays steadfast. So we should clutch these bits of insight and confidence in His arrangement for us. Assuming this message impacted you today, remember to hit that like button and offer it with somebody who necessitates to hear it. Also, as usual, I value your help. Remain favor. Areas of strength for remain. Recollect that God is with you constantly. Have you at any point encountered a second in your life where you needed something so gravely, yet it appeared to be far off? Perhaps it was an amazing line of work, a relationship, or an individual objective. We've all been there. In any case, consider the possibility that I let you know that occasionally, God requests that we discharge the very thing we want the most. It might sound illogical, however it's really a trial of our confidence. In Matthew 16:25, Jesus said, "For whoever needs to save their life will lose it, yet whoever loses their life for me will track down it." This strong message advises us that occasionally, we want to relinquish our longings and give them over to God. It's anything but a simple undertaking, however it's fundamental for our otherworldly development. At the point when we clutch something too firmly, it turns into an icon in our lives. We begin depending on it more than we depend on God. Yet, when we discharge it and confidence in His arrangement, astounding things can occur. God might decide to offer back what we need, or bring something far and away superior into our lives. I've heard incalculable accounts of individuals who have encountered this firsthand. They let go of what they needed most and gave it over to God. Also, do you have any idea about what was the deal? Marvels, entryways opened, open doors emerged, and gifts poured in. It's amazing the way that God works when we put our confidence in Him. However, consider this. Delivering what we need most requires confidence. It expects us to believe that God understands what's best as far as we're concerned. It's not generally simple, and it might try and feel agonizing on occasion. Yet, recall, God is dependably with us, directing us through constantly. Thus, today, I need to urge you to deliver whatever you need the most. Trust in God's arrangement for your life. Have confidence that He will either give it back to you or bring something far and away superior. There's no need to focus on surrendering. It's tied in with giving up. Keep in mind, God's gifts are plentiful, and His affection for you is faithful. In this way, have confidence, discharge what you need most, and watch as God makes all the difference in your life. I need to converse with you about something that has been on my heart of late. Confidence. You know, here and there it tends to be truly difficult to clutch our confidence when we don't see prompt solutions to our requests. In any case, I need to empower you today. Confidence shouldn't blur assuming the responses come gradually. As a matter of fact, the deferral might be God's approach to figuring out His will in our lives. At the point when we feel burnt out on supplicating, it's critical that God sees us. He understands what we really want even before we ask Him. Also, prepare to have your mind blown. He generally tunes in. Our requests never fail to receive any notice. In this way, don't lose heart. Continue asking, continue looking for Him, and continue believing that He is working in the background. Isaiah 40-31. Yet the people who trust in the ruler will recharge their solidarity. They will take off on wings like hawks. They will run and not develop exhausted. They will walk and not be weak. One section that has brought me such a lot of solace during seasons of delay is Isaiah 40-31. According to it, yet the people who trust in the ruler will restore their solidarity. They will take off on wings like falcons. They will run and not develop fatigued. They will walk and not be weak. Isn't excessively unbelievable? At the point when we put our faith in God, He recharges our solidarity. He empowers us to continue to go in any event when we want to surrender. You know, God's methodologies are higher than our own. His timing is great in any event when it doesn't line up with our own assumptions. Thus, while you're sitting tight for a response or feeling deterred, recall that God believes should accomplish an extraordinary work through you. He will continuously reply, perhaps not in the ways you expect, but rather in manners that He knows are ideal. God's message today is one of trust, love, and favors. He needs to involve you as a vessel to bring His light into this world. You have a reason, old buddy. Never misjudge the effect you can make when you give your life over to Him. In this way, how about we clutch our confidence even amidst vulnerability? How about we believe that God is working everything together for our benefit? Furthermore, how about we recollect that His endowments may not generally come in the ways we expect, yet they will continuously merit the pause. Maxims 3-5-6 tells us, entrust in the Master with everything that is in you, and don't rest on your own comprehension. In the entirety of your ways recognize Him, and He will make straight your ways. These strong words remind us to give our concerns and questions over to God, confiding in Him totally. In any event, when we can't see the way forward, permits us to encounter His heavenly direction in our lives. In the present high-speed world, it's not difficult to become involved with our own comprehension and depend exclusively on our restricted human insight. Yet, God's message advises us that His methodologies are higher than our own. By recognizing Him in all parts of our lives, we welcome His presence to direct us towards the correct way. This affirmation isn't simply a simple acknowledgement, however, a profound association with the all-powerful. Presently, we should discuss the meaning of this message in our otherworldly excursion. At the point when we entrust in the Master with our entire existence, we discharge the weight of control and spot it in His competent hands. A demonstration of give-up permits us to encounter genuine opportunity and harmony. By resting on God rather than ourselves, we tap into His endless insight and track down comfort in His caring hug. In any case, how might God's message affect us today, in a world loaded up with confusion, vulnerabilities, and difficulties? Feeling overpowered and lost is simple, be that as it may. When we anchor ourselves in God's message, we track down trust in the midst of misery and strength in the midst of shortcoming. He advises us that He is with us constantly, prepared to direct us towards a more splendid tomorrow. Presently, we should pause for a minute to ponder the gifts that come from embracing God's message. At the point when we confide in Him sincerely, He adjusts our ways to His heavenly reason. Entryways open, open doors emerge, and wonders occur. His endowments flood. In material abundance, as well as in profound overflow, we track down euphoria, love, and satisfaction more than ever. Thus, my dear companions, as we close this strong message, make sure to entrust in the Ruler with everything that is in you and lean not on your own comprehension. Embrace His message today, and let it guide you towards a day-to-day existence loaded up with reason and endowments. May you track down strength in His presence, and may your ways be made straight by His heavenly hand. As adherents, we realize that God has given us everything, except once in a while it tends to be trying to do our absolute best back to Him. Thus, how about we plunge into this subject together and find how we can completely give ourselves over to His arrangement? You know, there's a section in the book of Scriptures that impeccably epitomizes this battle. It's Romans 12:1, which says, "Subsequently, I ask you, family, considering God's benevolence, to offer your bodies as a living penance, blessed and satisfying to God. This is your valid and legitimate love." At the point when I previously read this refrain, it hit me hard. It caused me to understand that my life isn't my own. It has a place with God. Also, offering ourselves as living penances implies giving up our cravings, our arrangements, and our desires to line up with His will. However, here's the lovely thing. When we give up to God's will, we are really picking what is best as far as we're concerned. God's arrangements are dependably for our benefit. Jeremiah 29:11 helps us to remember this. "For I know the plans I have for you," pronounces the Master, "plans to thrive you and not to hurt you, plans to give you trust and a future." Isn't so astounding? The Maker of the universe has a particular arrangement for every single one of us. An arrangement loaded up with trust and favors. However, to completely embrace this arrangement, we want to have a brain and heart that figure out His will for us. All in all, how would we foster this getting it? It begins with investing energy in God's promise and looking for His direction through supplication. As we jump into sacred writing, we start to see His personality, His commitments, and His longings for our lives. Also, as we implore, we welcome the essence of God to direct us and uncover God's will to us. In any case, we should keep in mind, giving up to God's will is certainly not a one-time choice. It's a day-to-day decision. It expects us to persistently set out our own cravings and submit ourselves to His arrangement. I won't lie, it's quite difficult all of the time. There will be times when we question God's arrangement, or when we have an unsure outlook on what lies ahead. In any case, in those minutes, we can find solace in realizing that God is devoted. He won't ever leave us nor neglect us. In this way, my companions, we should sincerely commit to a responsibility together, to be living penances for God's greatness. We should give up our lives, our fantasies, and our arrangements into His hands. Furthermore, as we do as such, we should believe that He will lead us on a way loaded up with reason, satisfaction, and gifts incomprehensible. God gives us individuals to adore and things to utilize, not the opposite way around. In a world that frequently focuses on material belongings and individual increase, recalling the genuine reason for our existence is significant. We are called to be transformers of this world, not simply simple chasers of achievement or transitory delights. One of my number one book of scriptures refrains that impeccably catches this message is tracked down in 1 John 4:7-8. According to it, "Dearest, let us love each other, for affection is from God, and whoever loves has been brought into the world of God and knows God. Any individual who doesn't adore doesn't know God, since God is love." Isn't it delightful? Love is at the center of what God's identity is, and as His youngsters, we are called to mirror His adoration in all that we do. So how might we essentially apply this message in our day-to-day routines? Right off the bat, we should zero in on cherishing God. Take time every day to interface with Him through supplication, love, and concentrating on His promise. Look for His direction and permit His adoration to make you inexpressibly pleased. At the point when we really experience God's adoration, it becomes more straightforward for us to stretch out that equivalent love to other people. Furthermore, that carries me to the subsequent point: cherishing individuals. We live in a world loaded up with harming people who frantically need love and empathy. We should be purposeful about connecting with others, offering grace, and being a wellspring of support. Little demonstrations of adoration can hugely affect somebody's life. Keep in mind, we are called to be transformers of this world. So rather than pursuing common achievement or transitory joys, we should zero in on impacting our general surroundings through adoration. We should be the light in the haziness, the expectation hopelessly, and the adoration in a world that so frantically needs it. Before I wrap up, I need to help you to remember God's favors message. At the point when we conform to God's motivation and carry on with a day-to-day existence fixated on adoration, He favors us richly. These gifts may not generally come in that frame of mind of material belongings or common acknowledgement. However, they give a profound feeling of satisfaction and pleasure that can't be found somewhere else. Thus, my companions, how about we acknowledge this message and go out into the world as representatives of God's adoration? How about we love God with our entire being and love individuals with the very love that He has filled us? Together, we can influence the world, each demonstration of affection in turn. Have you at any point halted to ponder how unbelievable it is that God explicitly picked you to be here At the present time, at this time, it's stunning to consider that God saw this specific moment and said, "The earth needs one of her," and that is precisely why He put you in this family, this congregation, this city. He situated you at that specific employment and directed you to this school. He gave you these gifts in light of the fact that through you, individuals will come to know His name. God has a directive for all of us, a message that is interesting to our own excursion. He believes that us should comprehend His unfailing goodness and experience His gifts firsthand. What's more, it's through our interests and wants that we become a declaration to His significance. Allow me to impart to you a few strong sections from the book of scriptures that impeccably epitomize God's directive as far as we're concerned. 1. Jeremiah 29:11. "For I know the plans I have for you," proclaims the Master, "plans to succeed you and not to hurt you, plans to give you trust and a future." This section advises us that God has a reason for our lives and He needs to richly favor us. 2. Psalm 37:4. "Joy yourself in the Master, and He will offer you everything you could possibly want." When we adjust our longings to God's will, He vows to satisfy them and give us pleasure. 3. Matthew 5:16. Similarly, "Let your light sparkle before others, that they might see your great deeds and celebrate your Dad in paradise." Our activities and the manner in which we carry on with our lives can be a strong declaration of God's affection and goodness. Keep in mind, my companions, God has picked you for a particular reason. He has furnished you with exceptional gifts and gifts to have an effect in this world. So embrace your calling and let your light sparkle brilliantly. In Departure 20-3, God Himself reminds us, "You will have no different dividings before me." This edict fills in as a strong update that our hearts ought to be devoted exclusively to God. He merits our full focus, love, and dedication. To try not to fall into the snare of excessive admiration, we should be continually mindful of God's presence in our lives. It's sufficiently not to simply put in no time flat in petition or go to chapel on Sundays. We should develop a profound and personal connection with Him all through each snapshot of our day. As Psalm 16:8 wonderfully states, "I have set the ruler generally before me. Since He is at my right hand, I will not be shaken." When we deliberately keep God extremely important to us, we track down strength, security, and harmony that outperforms all comprehension. Presently, we should discuss the unbelievable message that God has for all of us. God's message is one of adoration, elegance, and reclamation. He needs to direct us, safeguard us, and lead us on a way of nobility. Jeremiah 29:11 helps us to remember this wonderful truth. "For I know the plans I have for you," proclaims the ruler, "plans for government assistance and not so much for evil, to give you a future and an expectation." Regardless of where you are in life at the present time, recollect that God has a reason for you. He has astonishing designs to flourish you and fill your existence with trust. At last, we should not disregard the unimaginable endowments that God showers upon us every day. From the air we inhale to the connections we treasure, each beneficial thing in our lives is a gift from Him. It's fundamental that we require investment to remember these good fortune and offer our thanks. James 1:17 flawlessly catches this opinion. Each great gift and each ideal gift is from a higher place, descending from the Dad of lights. When we perceive that all endowments stream from God's hand, it lowers us and extends our appreciation for His decency. So that's it, my companions, a delicate suggestion to maintain our emphasis on the Master and abstain from permitting anything to turn into an icon in our lives. How about we endeavor to know about His presence ceaselessly, embrace His message of adoration and reclamation, and remember His good fortune with appreciative hearts. Keep in mind, when we give God the legitimate spot in our souls, all the other things falls into its appropriate viewpoint. Much thanks to you for going along with me today, and assuming this message impacted you. Remember to hit that like button and offer it with others. Until sometime later, remain favored and focus your eyes on the person who really merits our commitment, our master and friend in need, Jesus Christ. Be careful, and God favor.